Welcome to Lost Relation Chronicles.
My ex-wife and I had been together for 6 years and finally got married this past February. I truly thought we made a fantastic couple. We did so much together, and I always try to keep things fresh and interesting. I'd take her on random dates to new places, surprise her with little romantic gestures here and there. But then, about 4 or 5 months ago, she became upset over not having many friends outside of me. So, when she joined an online meetup group and started making new friends, I was really supportive. I felt it was healthy. After all, it's not fair to expect one person to be your only source of happiness. A month or so went by, and I noticed she was spending more and more time with one guy in particular from that group. I'll admit, I felt a bit jealous, but I thought, what the hell, I trust her completely. She deserves friends. As the weeks passed, though, things started to feel a little off. She began hanging out at this guy's house, where he lived with a few housemates. She'd tell me they were just playing board games with the others and would even send me pictures from time to time, showing me what they were doing. I'd think, all right, that looks innocent enough, and for a while, it did help ease my worries. But my gut started throwing up red flags. She began texting him constantly, even in the evenings. She'd take her phone with her into the shower, which she'd never done before. One night, I remember her saying, "I'm really tired. I think I'm going to bed early." I replied, "All right, get some rest." A couple of hours later, I went into the bedroom to grab something and saw her still wide awake, lying in bed, texting on her phone. It was the same story on multiple nights. I couldn't help but wonder if she was talking to him. By this point, I was feeling extremely uncomfortable with the whole situation. The amount of time she was spending at this guy's house, especially after spending entire days out with him, felt way beyond appropriate. So, I decided to talk to her about it. I told her, "Look, I don't mind that you're friends with him, but the amount of time you're spending with him is just too much. It doesn't sit right with me." She shot back, "You're being jealous and needy. I enjoy spending time with him. We have a lot in common." Fast forward a week or so, and one day she told me she was going into town to find a present for her niece. But something in my gut told me she was lying. I knew where this guy lived because I dropped him off there after a night out once. So, feeling uneasy, I drove over to his house. When I got there and saw her car parked outside, my heart sank. I started hyperventilating and felt like the ground was spinning beneath me. It was like I was drunk as I stumbled back to my car. On the drive home, I was crying so hard I could barely see the road. I was so out of it that I nearly got into an accident after running a red light. Once I got home, I tried to pull myself together. I paced around, taking deep breaths, slowly feeling a bit calmer. Not long after, she called me. I answered, keeping my voice as steady as I could. "How was your day?" I asked. "It was good," she replied casually, "but I didn't find anything for my niece." "I wonder why," I muttered, the words slipping out bitterly. Then I told her, "Come home right now. We need to talk." "Why? What's going on?" she asked, sounding annoyed. "Just come home," I replied, my voice cold and trembling. When she walked through the door, I asked her straight up, "Were you actually in town looking for presents?" She kept up her story, insisting that she'd been looking for her niece's gift. I shook my head and said, "I know where you really were." Her face instantly shifted from confusion to shock. She sat down, then explained, "I was just over there for coffee and a chat." I asked her, "Then why lie to me?" She sighed, "I didn't want to make you feel more insecure or jealous. I thought if I told you I was with him, you'd just get upset." I couldn't believe it. How is lying supposed to help with insecurity? If anything, it makes it worse. She insisted that nothing had happened and that she'd only been considering my feelings, wanting to spend time with her friend without me worrying. Like an idiot, I ended up believing her, convincing myself that maybe I was just being overly jealous and clingy. I had no idea I was being gaslit. A week went by, and one day while I was at work, she texted me, "Is it okay if I go to his house for coffee after work?" She finished hours before I did. So I thought, fine, I'm not even going to be home yet anyway, so I told her to go ahead. Later that day, stuck in traffic on my way home, I get another text from her. "I'll be staying over for dinner." I felt something snap. Furious, I texted back, "You know what? Don't bother coming home tonight. Just stay there." I told her straight up that, at this point, it was clearly an emotional affair, at the very least. She looked at me, bewildered, and asked, "Why are you doing this?" "I've put up with this for 2 months now," I replied. "The whole situation is making me feel constantly sick to my stomach. Something's really wrong here, and my gut is screaming at me." She pleaded, "Please, let me come home so we can talk." But I was firm. No, I said, refusing to let her back that night. I didn't speak to her again until the following evening. Like the fool I was, I texted her, admitting I made a huge mistake. I overreacted. You can come home. When she came back, her expression was tense. You've really damaged our relationship, she said, her voice cold. I don't even know if I can trust you now. I wanted so badly to tell her that she was the one who'd broken my trust by lying to me the week before, but I bit my tongue. I chalked it up to my own jealousy issues flaring up again. Instead, I apologized for my actions, and things gradually seemed to settle back into routine. Or so I thought. Around December 20th, she told me that she wanted to go to her sister's late on Christmas Eve and spend Christmas Day there with her niece and nephew. She insisted she still wanted to have a few special days with me first, suggesting we spend the 23rd and 24th together as our Christmas. I was disappointed she wouldn't be with me on Christmas Day, but I respected her decision. So, I went along with it, and those 2 days together were wonderful. We cooked Christmas dinner, made some snacks, watched Netflix, and snuggled up on the couch, enjoying our own little celebration. I enjoyed our time together so much. She was supposed to head to her sister's around 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve, so I helped her pack a few things. Then, a realization hit me. She'd mentioned that her sister would be back around 6:30 after a shopping trip, but I also remembered that he finished work around 6 o'clock. My suspicions flared up again, but I pushed them down. She wouldn't go to his house on Christmas Eve, I told myself. She wouldn't be so callous as to leave me alone over Christmas. Ignoring my gut, I convinced myself it was just my jealousy talking, and accusing her now could destroy our relationship. So, I swallowed my doubts and surprised her with a few presents, things I knew she'd love. She looked at me, a bit teary-eyed, and admitted, I feel really guilty. I couldn't afford to get you anything this year. I smiled and reassured her, it's okay. I didn't buy them expecting anything in return. I just wanted you to have them because I love you. We kissed, said goodbye, and she left. That was the last time I'd see her. A few hours after she left, I remembered I had an email to reply to, so I opened Gmail. To my surprise, she'd left herself logged in on the computer. I hesitated but clicked anyway. There, in her email, was a downloaded WhatsApp chat between her and him. I opened it and began reading. What I found crushed me. For almost 2 months, this affair had been going on. Reading through her messages was like pouring salt on an open wound. What started as light, harmless flirting quickly escalated. She told him how much she loved cuddling on his sofa, watching movies with him, and even joked about sending him pictures to motivate him to hurry home. The messages showed she requested pictures from him, videos, and sent her own in return. By early December, they had slept together. And from the timestamps, I could see she was telling him how much she enjoyed it while sitting in the same room as me. Toward the end of the conversation thread, I found messages from around December 18th, with both of them talking about how they couldn't wait to be together. At one point, he even joked that she should steal my PC and VR headset before she goes, because he wanted to play it. She laughed in response, and I just sat there in shock, feeling utterly betrayed. In the middle of my breakdown, I decided to check her Google location history. My worst fears were confirmed. She was at his house that very moment, on Christmas Eve, while I sat alone thinking she was with her sister. Just when I thought I couldn't feel any lower, I scrolled down through her emails a bit more and saw she'd bought him a Christmas present, a t-shirt, despite telling me she couldn't afford to buy me anything. That was it. The realization hit me hard. Our relationship was over. There was no coming back from this. I called her, intending to confront her, but before diving in, I asked her a simple question. Where are you right now? I wanted to give her one last chance to come clean, to see if she would finally be honest. Instead, she turned it around on me, saying she couldn't handle the constant mistrust and insisted that she was at her sister's. Even in the final moments, she lied and tried to make me feel like I was the one at fault. I told her everything I knew about her messages with him, the lies, the nights spent convincing me I was being irrational, the gut-wrenching emotional breakdown I went through. All while she offered no support, no acknowledgement. She stayed mostly silent, only saying, I know a few times, which stung even more. After years of supporting her through some of her darkest times, this was how she repaid me, with deception and abandonment when I needed her the most. I ended the call, telling her I never wanted to see her again. Later, I discovered from their WhatsApp exchange that her sister knew the whole time. She was complicit in all of this, never once saying a word to me or encouraging her to be honest. I just can't believe how low they stooped. What a disgraceful family. Yesterday, I packed all her things into bags and left them in the garden for her to pick up. I didn't damage any of her stuff, though it took immense self-control not to. I know I'm better than that. Right now, I'm in a really dark place. I find myself crying randomly, triggered by the smallest things. I've been experiencing what I think are panic attacks. My heart races when I lie in bed, and I feel constantly nauseous. A couple of nights ago, I even woke up in a panic, confused and convinced she was still in the house looking for me. I feel completely devastated and broken. I hope to eventually move on from this, but I'm scared this betrayal will taint any future relationships and haunt me for the rest of my life. She's ruined me. It's been 4 days since D-Day, and I'm still struggling. The pain is so raw. I've been crying on and off the entire time. Last night was particularly rough. I just lay in bed and sobbed for a solid 10 minutes. I feel like I'm at rock bottom. She's texted me multiple times since Sunday, telling me she's been feeling confused for months and that her feelings for me were genuine, though none of what she did was logical. She says she doesn't expect me to take her back, but would like to mend our friendship. Finally, she texts me saying she doesn't want our marriage to end, as if it didn't already end the moment she cheated. She insists that I need to talk to her face-to-face to scream and shout if that's what it takes for me to find closure. This infuriates me. I can't believe she wants me to consider mending our friendship after everything she's done, and now she wants to meet and talk? Does she expect a heartfelt conversation where she can justify the months of emotional abuse I endured? She must be delusional. I haven't replied to her messages, and I have no intention of doing so. One thing I worry about is her showing up at the house, trying to apologize, or threatening to do something if I don't communicate with her. I really couldn't handle that. She's already put me through enough torture. So that's where I'm at. Things have been really rough lately. But at least I have a friend coming over tomorrow night, which will give me a good distraction for the New Year's weekend. Thanks again for all of your. It's been just over a month since D-Day, and I wanted to check in and share how I've been doing. The first 2 weeks of January were possibly the worst of my life. I hit absolute rock bottom. I cried multiple times every single day, stopped eating, and lost so much weight that people started asking if I was unwell. Those were incredibly dark days. Now, a month has passed, and things have improved somewhat. I still cry, but not as often, and my appetite is slowly returning. I don't feel as despondent anymore. I do still experience intense, upsetting feelings every couple of days, along with thoughts that I'll never find anyone else, but I'm not as consumed by them as I once was. As for maintaining no contact, I've managed it, though it's been unbelievably challenging. I blocked her number, but she found ways to reach me through a few of my old email addresses. She even sent me a long letter via email in early January, expressing her deep regret for what she did. She acknowledged that she knows I want her to suffer, and she promised that she would for the rest of her life. In her message, she claimed that I was the only one who ever made her feel truly attractive and pleaded with me to recognize that her feelings for me were always real. In short, it was all the typical excuses you'd expect from a cheater and a narcissist. I'm still resolute in my decision not to entertain any possibility of reconciliation. I have nothing to gain from it, and she's likely just seeking comfort in the wake of her actions. The novelty of the affair is probably starting to wear off for her, and I can only imagine that the guilt is beginning to consume her if it hasn't already. My recovery process has been somewhat inconsistent, but I'm trying to take things one day at a time. Work has helped keep me occupied throughout the week and gives me a sense of purpose. In the evenings, I've found joy in cooking. It's hard to feel sad when the kitchen smells so wonderful. I've also done a bit of light socializing, though money is tight right now, so I can't do as much as I'd like. Most importantly, I've been spending a lot of time with my dog, and I'm incredibly grateful for the comfort she has provided me over the past month. I think the key aspects of my recovery have been allowing myself to process all my grief, learning to accept my current situation, and beginning to enjoy my own company. It's undoubtedly been a challenging time, and I know it will continue to be for a while, but I feel like I have both hands on the ledge now instead of just one. Thanks for reading, and I genuinely hope you're all doing okay out there. Here I am, 5 weeks after D-Day. Emotionally, I'm still a bit scattered, but I'm working through it. Sometimes I can go hours, or even almost a whole day without thinking about her or what she did. Other times, something will trigger a powerful memory of our relationship. For instance, a few days ago, while tidying up around the house, I stumbled upon a keepsake she had given me years ago, titled "To the Man I Love." Moments like that can completely derail my day. Throughout this ordeal, I've coped mainly by keeping myself as busy and distracted as possible. I've been cooking from scratch, binge-watching TV shows, taking long walks with my dog, writing, and playing video games. The hardest moments usually come at night when I'm lying in bed alone with my thoughts. My mind often drifts back to that Christmas Eve when I discovered her infidelity. I can get trapped in a mental loop, replaying the events over and over. If I let my thoughts wander too much, I inevitably end up imagining her with the other guy, which makes me feel physically sick and has even brought me close to panic attacks. However, these intrusive thoughts are becoming less frequent as time passes. Maintaining no contact is absolutely crucial for me right now. Despite how tough it's been to avoid communicating with her for over a month, the clarity I've gained has made it worthwhile. It has helped clear the fog, allowing me to see the situation for what it is. I'm emerging from this experience with my self-respect, dignity, values, and strength of character intact. I always told my ex-wife that infidelity was a deal-breaker in a relationship, and I meant it. If someone betrays me in such a way, I will remove them from my life without hesitation. Maybe she thought she could manipulate my love for her to reconcile, hoping for a second chance or at least to maintain a friendship. However, the fallout from her affair has unfolded exactly as I always predicted it would. She made a conscious choice to betray me, and I remained firm in my decision to end the relationship immediately. My actions have earned me a great deal of respect from friends and colleagues alike. They commend my strength and unwavering commitment to my values, and as a result, I can look in the mirror and genuinely admire the man staring back at me. Many people struggle with self-esteem and confidence in situations like this, and while both have been affected for me to some degree, I still see a lot of value in myself. I remind myself daily that I am the prize and that she will search for me in every man she meets in the future. However, she will never find anyone like me because I'm not replaceable. Through her selfishness, she has lost a good man. I was always loyal to her because I loved and respected her immensely. Unfortunately, until she confronts her deep-rooted issues, she is destined to repeat this behavior time and again, always believing that someone else is responsible for her happiness. In the end, her actions may have knocked me down, but I will rise again, stronger than before. I've learned the importance of loving and taking care of myself because, ultimately, I am the most valuable person I know. I've recently started attending MMA classes, and I can't believe the transformation I've experienced. I've never felt better, physically and mentally. Training has not only helped me get fitter, but also provided an outlet for all the emotions I've been processing. I've become stronger and more disciplined, and it feels incredible. To top it all off, I've started dating someone new. She's an amateur fighter, and her passion for the sport is contagious. We motivate each other to push our limits in the gym and support one another outside of it. It's refreshing to be with someone who shares my interests and understands the dedication it takes to pursue our goals. I feel like I'm finally on a path toward healing and happiness, and I'm excited about what the future holds. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.